Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Bithoulkas, and it's time for Is It Worth My Time? This time around, Masters of the Universe, Revelation. Just Revelation, no S, Revelation. Let me take care of some business first, and we'll get down to it. If you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. Basically, YouTube takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching, tries to match it as best as possible. One of the videos in my vast video library and pops it up there just for you. And if you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below there. Also, if you can or want to, if you want to know when I'm be on live again next, hit the bell down below. It's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you. Best thing to do is go to suspendedfanimation.com, take a look at the schedule. I didn't change it this week, which I just remembered. I didn't do that. It's been really busy at work. I will change that out, though, after I'm done here. And you can actually take a look at that there. And then also have the links to my social media as well. So I have Twitter, Instagram, Patreon. And I also have the links to this YouTube channel page, my Facebook page, and a Facebook group page where you guys can post stuff and chat amongst yourselves. Cheryl Lura says, I hear bad things about this. I get a bad feeling about this. So I'm doing the non-spoiler version first here. Yeah. Tears in the Patreon when COVID is. Actually, I'm probably going to end up doing YouTube's thing that they've got going, which is pretty much the same thing as Patreon. But anyway, neither here nor there. So spoiler-free review first. So this is a continuation of the 80s cartoon. And the first episode pretty much starts off, it's cheesy one-liners, all that kind of stuff. And it's only the first 5 episodes of the season have been dropped in this thing. So there's 10 episodes in total for the season, but they've only dropped 5 episodes because that's what Netflix has been doing. And then I think it's like 3 or 6 months down the line, they drop the other 5 episodes after everyone's forgotten about the first half. And that's how they've been doing this. So it's just kind of a weird mix of things. So essentially what Kevin Smith, by the way, is the one who's been writing this. He's also the showrunner of this series. And he's kind of gone not apocalyptic on it, but he kind of took let's just say he was not the right person for the job to write this. So he puts in essentially what this ends up being is that He-Man and Skeletor disappear in the first episode. That I know, I'll let you there. And then we run through the rest of the episodes without them. Is really where we go. And it's kind of an Eternia without your main characters, your main and protagonist and antagonist. And it's all your little your side characters that are there. And it focuses on Tila, if you will, and there's a lot of how should I put this without being spoilery? It kind of runs the gamut of almost she won't listen to basically when people go, oh, you know what, I have to tell you one thing, I don't want to hear it, kind of thing. And yeah, it's kind of overkill on the character. Basically, what this series, it's badly written. Okay, it's badly written, even for a kids show, and it doesn't know if it wants to be the kids show or if it wants to be a serious discussion of something, or if it wants to be something else. It's vying for 3 different things all at the same time. So all I can say is if you were a fan of the original series, you're going to be disappointed on this one. And most likely you might be a little bit angry about some of the stuff here. Is there a wokeism involved, is what everyone's been talking about and stuff like that? No, not really. It's just really fucking bad writing and Judeo-Christian dogism is what this is. So Kevin Smith, had a heart attack, almost died. They call it the Widowmaker, what he survived. And I have a feeling that he still has not gone to a therapist or anything about this to kind of talk about what he went through in that experience. And instead, he decided to write it out in the script, is what he did for a children's show. And literally, the first episode I'm watching, I'm like, this is a guy, whoever wrote this is like, had a near death experience and hasn't dealt with anything as of yet. And that's what they're doing in this script. And sure enough, by the time I got to the 5th episode, I'm like, yeah, this is written by someone who had a near death experience and is trying to work through their shit through the screenplay, and is not, let's just put it this way. If young Kevin Smith, pre-heart attack Kevin Smith, saw this series from himself, he would bitch slap the fuck out of himself, is really what he would do. That's where we go down to it. So no, it is not worth your time, especially if you are a fan of this of the series. And yes, I agree with you, Mark. The animation's beautiful. It's done by the same people who do Castlevania, so of course they do great work and everything. But yeah, the series, it's just bad. It's badly written, is really what it is. Mork says, I love the transformation from Adam to He-Man. The story was garbage. Yeah, there's beautiful little moments in there that are visual candy, but the story is garbage. It really is. So with that said, let's get to the meat of the thing, okay? Spoiler alert, I am going to spoil it from here on out. If you haven't seen it, good for you. You can go and watch it if you want. It's up to you. Otherwise, you're going to get spoiled. So fair warning on that, okay? All right. So there we go. Let me see what people are saying here first before. Mork says, I love the transformation. Okay. Raymond says, I don't understand how the titular character cannot be in it. It reminds me of The Force Awakens. Actually, it says Masters of the Universe. So there's nobody in the title, Raymond, that is. We just know that He-Man and Skeletor are the main characters that, are the main protagonist and antagonist. And yes, they were not in that. Mork says, Hamill, as much as I love him, made Skeletor be the Joker. I didn't hear the Skeletor one-liners. Yeah, he totally did the Joker in that one. I agree with you completely. I was laughing, and he was like, yeah, he basically just kind of did Joker light, is what he did on that. Popeye Pliskin says, to Raymond K. Hessel, or like Welcome Back Kotter, when Mr. Kotter left on a teacher's convention and his wife taught the class in the final season. So again, I'm going to say that there was a lot of religious dogma within this series, especially with the whole fucking Subternia, which is supposed to be hell, and Praeternia, which is supposed to be heaven. And of course, having the sword being the sword of power being split into two, and one sent to heaven, one sent to hell. And yeah, it just didn't make any sense really as to why one went to heaven, one went to hell. It didn't make any sense on that. This story was pretty messed up. So Teela, of course, has been lied to that Prince Adam is He-Man. That's the only thing they ever lied to her about, right? Only thing ever, and it was mainly to protect her. And Scareglow actually brings this up in episode 4 and says, you have a lot of power in you, and the reason why they never told you is because they knew that you wouldn't be able to handle this because of your power and blah, 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 blah. And even with that kind of explanation, or mansplanation, if you will, or monster explanation, she still has a lot of animosity towards everybody. And she won't listen to anybody. Like Man-at-Arms, her dad, of course, says, hey, before we split up on this journey, I got something to tell you. She goes, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear anything from you, kind of thing. And it could be like, don't drink the water from the Green River because it'll kill you, or something like that. We don't know what he was going to say. And instead, she's like, I don't want to hear it. Adam, even at one point, when we find him in Praeternia, he says, I got to tell you something. She's, I don't want to hear it. And Teela just becomes fucking annoying more than anything else. And it's not that the series is based on her, this series. It's just that she's so fucking annoying that you feel that it's being based on her. So that's what it is. It's the way she's written is really fucking annoying to the point where she stands out like, this nasty, rusty nail that you want to hammer down is really what it is. That's what it comes down to. It's not that the story revolves around her. It's just that her character is so reprehensibly written that you don't like her and you want to hate on her. And that's pretty much what it is. So, yeah, Celebro469 says, I liked it for those that did not growing up, waiting 3 years between Empire and Return of the Jedi. Probably bother them because they are used to binging. That cliffhanger did not bother me. No, the cliffhanger didn't bother me either. So, yeah, but I just find this whole thing with Netflix of dumping half a series in and then waiting 3 or 6 months, however long it is, and you kind of forget about it, and then it comes back. So, yeah. Um, so no, there's no wokeism involved in any of this. It's just that it's badly written. You have someone who had a near-death experience who's writing this script and decided to bring their Judeo-Christian beliefs into a kid story. So you know how we kept saying that He-Man was basically an indoctrination in order to get kids to buy toys and all this shit. Well, now it's kind of been changed to an indoctrination of Catholicism. It's really what it is. Yeah, it just was a really badly written show. Really badly written show. How I would have changed it is I would have split He-Man and Adam, when you had that sword split, of course. And you could have sent He-Man to Preternia or whatever it was, and had him live with the heroes. And Adam could have, been skulking around all this time, if you will, basically looking for the swords of power, not to get the power back or anything like that, but basically to bring the magic back to Eternia. Basically, he is working for the sorceress again at this point in order to bring the magic back to Eternia because of what happened, of what he had to do in order to protect Eternia. So that's where I would have gone with this instead of, and then of course at the end of the series, you have He-Man and, Prince Adam join back together again, however you want them to join. And everyone lives happily ever after, and Skeletor goes and skulks back again at Snake Mountain. Yeah, Popeye Pliskin. So there are things I did like about this. I did like the evil-lyn Orko dynamic. That was actually good, even though Orko kind of irked me for some reason. I don't know what it was. I love tri-klops. Oh my god, the Henry Rollins version of tri-klops, where he is a priest, about the motherboard kind of thing, made me fucking laugh. It really did. And yeah, that made me laugh. It really did. So yeah, and I love Lena Headey, of course, doing evil-lyn, and the whole thing with them in episode 4 where Orko and evil-lyn, they're talking. He goes, I have to ask you a personal question, and she goes, no, evil was not in my name. I added it later, which is pretty funny, I have to admit. Yeah, the Cult of Triclops it's just brilliant. That was actually a good idea. That was a good idea. The whole evil-lyn dynamic was a good idea. Skeletor, the whole thing with Skeletor getting stabbed and then him stabbing Prince Adam at, the end of episode 5. Yeah, we know we were going to go there. So one of the things I noticed that I'm pretty sure Kevin Smith cribbed from, there was a comic in the early 2000s, I want to say, that was Thundercats. Thundercats Lion-O disappeared for like 20 years or something like that, or 10 years. I can't remember what it was. And Mumra basically took over and he enslaved the rest of the Thundercats that were there. Wily Kit and Wily Cat were basically his personal pets, if you will. I think Chitara, there was some really like vile shit that was going on with her. Pantera, all those guys. And basically Lionel comes back from whatever happened. He comes out of like some pocket universe or whatever and finds all this shit gone wrong on, Middle Earth or Third Earth or whatever it was, and has to fight back and has to put things right. And it's a great comic series. It's dark as fuck, but it's really good. And that's pretty much what Kevin Smith cribbed a little bit from in this. But then he also added the whole Judeo-Christian mythology stuff to it because he's working through some issues in the script. So Celebro 469 says, I remember that comic. Yeah, it's a good comic. It's really good. I can't remember the name of it, unfortunately. I was trying to look it up beforehand and I couldn't find it. So Mufinobi says, I didn't feel as good about Sarah Michelle Gellar's voice. Yeah, I didn't either. She was good in Star Wars Rebels as a third sister, I want to say, one of the Inquisitors. That I liked her in. This one, it just seemed like, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah. Mork says, you know what I would have changed? The writers or the writer. That was Kevin Smith. If you looked at the opening credits, it says written by Kevin Smith is what it says. We better get Ram Man in part 2. I'm pretty sure we will. Stainkor, of course, makes an appearance in this, which of course he's never been in the series. Yeah, which honestly I'm kind of glad he wasn't in the series because it was just bad. It's got an impressive voice cast. I mean, Justin Long as Roboto. You got Susan Eisenberg as Sorceress, Liam Cunningham as Man at Arms, Diedrich Bader as Trapjaw, Mark Hamill Skeletor, Lena Headley evil-lyn. Who else do we have here? Kevin Michael Richardson as Beastman, Henry Rollins, of course, as Tri-klops, Stephen Root as Cringer, which is actually kind of funny. I did like that. Dennis Haybert as King Grayskull. We also find out how Grayskull was named, that it was named after the first hero of Eternia. And why, that the Castle Grayskull is not really a castle, but it's actually a enchantment over the Castle of Wisdom is what it is. Yeah. So even Kevin Conroy's in there as Merman, and Jason Mewes was Stinkor, of course, because why not? And of course, because nepotism is involved here, Harley Quinn Smith is in there as Alina. Oh, God. Must be great having, a dad that'll put you in everything, even though you have no talent. Mufinobi says he only wrote the pilot, I believe. No, he wrote 7 episodes, Mufinobi. He wrote 7 out of 10 episodes. It says so in the IMDb credits. Yeah. Mufinobi says one was written by Mark Bernardin, his buddy. Yeah. One of the other comic guys or something like that. So it says here on IMDb, I'm looking at it right now. It says Kevin Smith written by 7 episodes. Mark Bernardin, 2 episodes, and then Eric Carrasco, 2 episodes, and then Dia Mishra, 2 episodes, and then Tim Sheridan, 1 episode. So there you go. But Kevin Smith was a story editor for 7 episodes too. So yeah. Well, Apocryphus, I half expected the Castle of Lions to show up. Yeah, that's what I thought it was with that lion head that we saw in Preternia. And I was like, is that the Thundercats? Are they here as well? Are we on Third Earth or what's going on? Papa Pliskin says, I heard they're going to release part 2 sooner than later now because of the bad feedback. They want it over with. I said, of course. Kevin Smith, of course, handled the feedback in the worst way possible by basically calling everyone man babies. This from the man who hasn't changed the way he dressed for 30 years and still dresses like he did in his 20s. The man is the same age as me. Okay. I do not dress the same way I did 30 years ago. Okay. Um, yeah, so speaking of fucking growing up, look in a mirror, dude. That's all I'm gonna say. You need to look in a mirror a little bit before you start doing that kind of shit. Before you start calling the kettle black, pot me kettle kind of thing. Ah, yeah. So again, um, toy sales, Mark says, they're probably in the tank right now. No one's gonna buy any toys from here just because of this shit. Um, yeah. And honestly, he is not my first choice to go to for anything other than directing episodes of Supergirl, which, by the way, is ending. So that's perfectly a good place for him to be. Kevin Smith is not my first choice for anything, really. If you saw that Jay and Silent Bob reboot, the one that was funded by, I guess, all his fans, uh, good Lord, that was a piece of shit. That was a fucking horrible piece of shit. Um, that was something that, I feel sorry for anybody who actually went through that whole thing and watched it because it was a really bad, 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 bad piece of shit. The only thing that it was good for was getting Harley Quinn Smith's face on a screen. That's that's what it was there for. That was what the whole promotional push was to get her in a movie and get her SAG card. Um, so is this show worth it? No, it's not. It's not worth it. If you're a fan of this, don't watch it. It's just gonna enrage you for the most part. It's badly written. I don't see anything. I don't see the second part actually redeeming this, quite honestly. Um, I really don't. I mean, I kind of know where it's gonna go. I mean, yes, Skeletor has the power now, whatever. Um, but of course, Adam's not dead. He's just been stabbed. He has to go through a whole redemption cycle or whatever. Um, that's your Jesus moment, by the way, as he comes back from the dead from Paternia. So that is he is risen from the grave, kind of thing. Adam and He-Man are Jesus, by the way, in case you couldn't tell. Skeletor being the devil. So there's your other Judeo-Christian shit that's going on in this. Um, I really wish someone else had written this thing other than Kevin Smith. I really do. I wish it was in someone else's hands other than Kevin Smith's. So we just need someone who could write. That's all. Someone who knew the business end of a pencil and also how to string together words correctly. And Kevin Smith, if you're watching this out there, man, I'm giving you as much shit as you would give someone that you didn't agree with as well. So, yeah, there you go. Mark says, what if they had made an episodic instead of a story across multiple episodes like the olden days? But but that would just be, I don't know. They're not gonna do that anymore, Marks. They really wouldn't. It's Netflix. Netflix is a binge. It's a churn and burn is what Netflix is. You drop half a season in, people, watch it, they eat it all up completely, then they're like, "Ah, that sucked. I don't want any more. Here's a second helping." All right, they eat it and they're like, "That sucked even more." So yeah, that's what Netflix is. It's churn and burn. And people aren't going to remember it like after, I would say, give it I would give it until the second week of August, and people are going to forget all about this show. And no one's going to talk about it anymore. Raymond K. Hessel says, yeah, I'm starting to think we really did lose the real Kevin Smith a while back. Yeah, we did. And honestly, that was back around Clerks 1 is where you lost him. He is older. Like I said, he is my age. Now we're the same age. He does not have that fire in him of a young man anymore. So he is not hungry in order to have that inner geek released, if you will, and actually do geek projects well. He is doing stuff for Mattel. is really what he's doing, and also kind of for him, working out his own demons, if you will, in that script. Like I said, again, yeah. Apple Crow says, more I think about it, the better it would have been to have Adam without the power instead of him dead. I know Apple Crow. I know what I'm talking about in my geek stuff. I know what story theory is, you know. It's really funny. I sit there sometimes and I'm looking over the behind the scenes stuff, and everyone's using the fucking circle now, the Dan Harmon circle with the cross in the middle of it. It's uh it's an episodic redemption cycle, if you will, where you start and you end in the same place. That's where your character arc is through an episode, and it's a really stupid invention, is really what it is. It works for Rick and Morty because that's what it's supposed to be, but Loki was using it, and somehow Loki survived through it. I don't know how, but I saw three of those circles in the Loki behind the scenes making of, and it's just a piss poor way of putting together episodes. It really is. Popeye Pliskin says, "Can somebody just make an adaptation where they just stay on Eternia?" I know, really. Raymond says, Homer 2 for 1 pizza at Doe's, Lisa Doe's. Yeah. That was the other thing too, Raymond. You reminded me. The very first, no, the second episode where we're getting a whole bunch of flack, and basically the characters aren't acting like themselves when they're talking to each other, kind of like they're working out real world problems almost, instead of being a children's cartoon, is really what it is. And the first thing I thought of was, is this a Simpsons parody? Because the Simpsons have done parodies of this where there's a kids cartoon that has been, like, an old kids cartoon has been taken and tried to be modernized. Poochie being the best example of that one from the Itchy and Scratchy show, and not working because it tries to be too hip or too real, and then forgets what it was supposed to be in the first place, of what made it popular in the first place. And that's what this also suffers from as well. Papa Pliskin says, wait a second. Borg says, spoiler season 2, Tila reaches the TVA and resets the timeline. If only. I mean, Miss Minutes comes in. She's like, nope, fuck this shit. And she hits the timeline. There we go. Popeye Pliskin says, do you think there's any chance that part 2 could save the series? What do you think could do that? Oh, basically, yeah, Miss Minutes comes in and resets the timeline. Nothing of this ever happened. If they go back and yeah, I would say that would have to be your thing that could save the series, is that somehow or another Adam, He-Man, gets the Sword of Power, and he is able to go back in time to that moment when he stabs Skeletor in order to open up the orb and all that stuff, and stops that from ever happening. And therefore, the series does not exist. It's all just a dream then at that point. And Tila doesn't remember anything. She goes back to not knowing that Adam is He-Man. Yeah, and the only one that knows about it is He-Man. He's the only one that'll know, and maybe Skeletor. There you go. That's the only thing that could actually save this series, is going back in time and stopping it from ever happening to begin with. Yes, I am drinking red liquid, so a dream. Yeah, you could have Bobby waking up in the shower or something like that. Yeah, JR was shot. It was all a dream. Bobby Ewing. Is that is that too old of a reference for you kids out there? Dallas, by the way. So yes, it's the old trope. The Dallas trope. Popeye Pliskin says, or ends by He-Man telling Tila he has something to tell her, and the screen goes to black. Ah. And then there's the whole thing. I just have to I have to get this off my chest for a second. There's the whole thing. Okay, is Tila they're kind of hinting at that she's gay, but then they're kind of hinting at that she had a thing for Adam. And that's the re or and that's the reason why she's pissed at him for not telling her that he was He-Man. And I'm kind of going back and forth on this as I was watching it, and I'm like, Is she? Or is she not? Or did she go that route? I mean, is she bi and then she decided to just go female only? I mean, it was one of the things that kind of crossed my mind when I was going through this. And yeah, I mean, I know it's not important really. In that respect of I mean the characters, I mean, not that it's not important, I'm just saying that it doesn't make a difference to me if the character is gay or not. It just it wasn't really well defined. It was hinted at quite heavily, but I don't know if that was actually the case, and Morks is saying she's definitely gay. See, I don't know, man. I think she is, but they just kind of they skated around it quite a bit. So, and again, that's going into your whole Judeo-Christian bullshit ideology thing of not really wanting to go that route and not really wanting to define what her relationship is with what's her name? That new character that we have now, and I'm blanking on her name, Andra. So is Andra her girlfriend or just a traveling companion? You know, and Popeye Pliskin said, I think they were trying to replicate the Xena Gabrielle. Okay, so that's what I was thinking too, Popeye. But yeah. Uh Mork says, yeah, maybe she's bi, or she wanted to be with Adam and halfway ask him to say, I have the. Oh, wow. Wow, Morks, you're on that one alone. That's on you. So if you want to send hate mail, you send it over to Morks on that one. So you can put it in the comments and he'll probably just ignore it like he normally does. Um but yeah, it was one of those things. I'm like, either shit or get off the pot, man. If she's gay, just make her be gay. Have her kiss, what's her face now? I fucking forgot her name again. Andra. Have her kiss Andra. Maybe she's gonna kiss at the end. I don't know. Maybe episode 10. That's what it is. She's just about to go in for the move, and then they cut to black. Oh man. Yeah, again, like I said, the whole problem with this was they hired Kevin Smith. That was the wrong move to do. And Kevin Smith needs to go through therapy to deal with his whole near death experience. And dude, I mean, seriously, watch episode where they're in Paternia, or yeah, Paternia. Watch that episode and you'll see it's just like, holy shit, he really needs to get therapy. That's what I was thinking the entire time. I'm like, this dude has some major issues because of what happened and hasn't talked to anyone about it. Yeah, if you go back and watch it now, or God help you, that's funny. I just said that. God help you. Um, you'll see it with new eyes at this point and just go, holy shit, he's right. Sorry, I am, but yeah. So there. All right. With that off my chest, I feel much better now, much lighter all of a sudden. Much better there. What else do I have going on this week? Well, tomorrow and Thursday, I'm going to be off. Friday, I'll be back. Blah, 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 if I could speak. Friday, I'll be back with Star Wars The Bad Batch. A new episode, if anyone cares, which no one seems to really, not even me. Saturday will be Saturday Morning Blast Off, where I take the genre news of the weekend, any genre stuff you guys want to talk about, and we talk about it. Sunday will be Spoiler Alert, where we get to spoil a whole bunch of shit. So if you guys still want to talk about Masters of the Universe Revelation, we can do that. We can do that definitely. And Monday I'll be off, and then Tuesday we roll back around again to Is It Worth My Time? Excuse me. Wow. Sorry, I had a little bit of something there in my throat. So yeah, and I don't know what I'm doing yet for Is It Worth My Time next week. I will find something most likely. I know there's some stuff coming out this week, and I'm blanking on it all of a sudden. Let's see what's on the concern. I haven't put up the new schedule. Add me. It was a long day at work today. It really was. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom. The last one's going to drop on this weekend on July 29th. Suicide Squad comes in August 5th. So that's going to be awesome that Suicide Squad comes out, and that'll be my next. Is It Worth My Time? So yeah, that's actually kind of cool there. Popeye Pliskin says Paternia didn't make any sense. They were like, you can never leave, but if you do go this way. Dude, there was a lot of stuff that didn't make any sense. Like, how in the fuck did Tila just magically make that sword appear in her hand when she was in Subternia? Is it the unspoken power that she has within her that makes her special, that she can just magically make that sword appear? That was never explained. And yeah. And the other dude's like, here's the other sword, man. I got it right here. So, Penn's still watching. Oh, and Apple Crow cares about Star Wars. I'm sorry, guys. Ray McHale says, may I make a suggestion? May I suggest the long Halloween for Is It Worth My Time? Yes. Is part 2 dropping? Is that coming out, Raymond? Because I will only watch 1 and 2 together. I really despise when DC animation drops, when they cut a movie in half like that, an animated movie. It pisses me off. The Dark Knight Returns is a perfect example of that. I wouldn't watch the first part until they dropped the second part, and I believe it was almost like a year before they dropped the second part. Pissed me off. Really pissed me off. Tila's midichlorian count is over 9,000. That's a lot of midichlorians. Yeah, on Friday, Raymond. Okay, I'll take a look for it and see if it's out there. But I think I might be doing Transformers War for Cybertron and just finish off that whole series because I wanted to. It's yeah, spoiler alert on that one. I like that series. That's a nostalgic series that came back that was actually done well. There you go. It's just the lazy animators, Raymond. That's the reason why they split it up like that. They need to whip those animators harder. They're chained to the table anyway. It's not like they're going anywhere. Make them work for 23 hours a day. They can sleep for an hour. Those bastards can draw faster. Draw faster, bitch. What's my favorite Transformers? Oh, Michael Bay. No. I'm kidding. I have a great story, by the way. I think I probably told this before. One of my teachers for my animation degree, he worked at ILM. He actually animated Yoda in the prequels, which you don't touch Yoda unless George Lucas is looking over your shoulder and has a hand halfway up you. He was telling me that they were doing the animation for Transformers, and it was ridiculous the amount of animation. They had something like, what did he say? Something like 18,000 moving parts. And they realized the human eye cannot, register that. So they actually dialed it down to like 4,000 moving parts when they transformed. And when they showed the dailies every time to Michael Bay, he was like, who did that? Who's responsible for that? They're fired. And it became a joke around ILM after a little while. They're like, who did that? Did you do that? You're fired. And so it was like every fucking dailies, every time they showed the dailies to him, that's what it would become. So, yeah, it was kind of funny. I never got into the industry, Raymond. Uh, I so I was going to change industries, and then of course, the recession hit is what happened, and I saw a whole bunch of friends like lose jobs and shit, and I was like, well, you know what? I still have a job. I'm going to sit here and in the job that I'm in. So I never changed industries, Raymond. I never went into animation. Yeah. So I know a lot of people who did, but yeah, that's about it. So back to what's my favorite Transformers? I would have to say the 80s movie. It's, always. Popeye Pliskin says Lucasfilms just hired, yeah, the YouTube. Yeah, I know the YouTuber who did the deep fake who cleaned up the deep fake. Yeah, Skywalker video. I saw that. Yeah. Oh man. All right. I mean the robot. Oh, which robot is my favorite? You know what? Jazz was my favorite back when Scatman Crothers would voice him. R.I.P. Scatman Crothers, by the way. That was my favorite. Uh, yeah, that was my favorite robot from Transformers was Jazz. I always liked Scatman Crothers' voice. He did a great job. So Scatman Crothers, by the way, for those of you who don't know, he was the old man in The Shining, who also he was the caretaker who ends up getting the axe in the back. That was Scatman Crothers. He was in tons of shit in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Yeah. He was also a good singer too. Great singer. Raymond says classic with Orson. Yeah, the one with Orson Welles. Yeah. Popeye Pliskin says when Hot Rod opened the Matrix in the movie was badass as a kid. Didn't see it coming. Oh man. All right, guys. I'm gonna let you guys go for the night. Thank you to everybody who joined me tonight in the chat, and thank you if you made it this far in the video. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. Basically, YouTube takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible. One of the videos in my vast video library and pops it up there just for you. And if you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below there. And if you can, hit that like button and the share button. They're really close by to each other. Also, if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, hit the bell down below. It's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you. Best thing to do is go to suspendedfanimation.com, which I'm going to change out the schedule here right after I'm done here. And you can take a look at the schedule there and also all the links to my social media and the links to my pages as well. That's a lot of ands, I know. Thank you, everyone. I will see you again on Friday for Star Wars The Bad Batch. Until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may find out that Kevin Smith has decided to write your life story and it's going to be full of typos, dick jokes, bad run-ons, and just very poorly written because that's what he does. Thanks, everybody. I will see you again on Friday. Until then, have a good rest of your week. Be safe. Take care. Be well. Wear those masks, get those vaccine shots, and stay safe out there. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your night and the rest of your week. See ya.